hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are so thrilled to have you. We do have one more panelist coming. She is on her way driving in from Burbank, so she will be with us momentarily. But in the meantime, I do want to say what an honor and pleasure it is to actually be here with this esteemed group. This is a passion point for me. As a daughter of an educator, I grew up in a literacy-rich environment, and my father was an educator in the Hartford, Connecticut public school system, and I loved literacy so much that once a week in elementary school, I would forego recess to volunteer in the library. So this is truly a full circle moment for me. You are all purpose-driven leaders and really committed in your work in your respective areas of pedagogy, production, and philanthropy. I want to begin today's discussion by talking a little bit about the why, because it truly is the why that drives the what of our actions. Can you think back and share with this audience, was there a specific catalytic moment that informs the work you currently do in prioritizing literacy? We'll start with you, Kyla.
Yes, well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I think personally, I think about my relationship with my grandmother. She was a person who kind of was the coordinator of all my extracurricular activities. And I got into theater as a kid, and I was in a Black repertory theater group in Berkeley and got introduced to Langston Hughes. And I just remember loving literature growing up. And so I think it was, for my grandmother, really inspiring the joy, and I think that's big. That's kind of the foundation to me of reading, is falling in love with reading, and it's usually a hook for every kid, and figuring out what that is. And I think as a leader in a system, it's figuring out as a system how to provide those personalized opportunities for every kid to get excited about whatever it is that they're learning, because once they're off and running.
Love that. Yes, thank you for sharing, Kyla. Lucy?
So I got into the space of literacy by accident. We made the film Sentence. Some of you came to the little showing over there, and if you want to see the film, let me know. We can send you a special screener. But I had always been interested in poverty, traveling to wild places like the border of Venezuela and the garbage dumps in Nicaragua. And when I came home, I kind of thought, well, what is this root cause? What keeps people poor? How do we, and the answer is education. What's the fundamental foundation of education? It's literacy, being able to read. So this has been a family project. The film that we are talking about, my father produced, and my brother directed, and I helped produce, and my other brother did the music, so it was kind of a family affair until the Currys got involved in this beautiful Aisha right here. We couldn't have done it without her. She's an angel. No, having the Currys involved changed the trajectory of our film. Doors opened that would not have. That has been amazing, a huge gift. And if Aisha were here, I would give her some love.
Aisha is very sorry she's not here. They had some family stuff come up, and she did want me to send her apologies to you all. From my perspective and the Eat, Learn, Play perspective, I have a lot of great memories, with my parents growing up and with my kids, teaching them how to read in that special time. For the Currys, right, it's very personal, right? They've got 4 young children. When we, really went into the literacy space, they had 3, right, all at the age of, where they were early learners. Steph is the son of a teacher and a school administrator, his mom, and so, he got this immediately. But the reason that we got into literacy at Eat, Learn, Play was because we listened to the community, right? We listened to parents, we listened to teachers to understand, where's an area of crisis, where could we be helpful? And overwhelmingly, what came back to us was literacy, and Oakland kids need the resources and support that they need, or need the resources and support to be strong, confident readers. And so it was listening to the community that really helped unlock our now 3-4 year journey into this space.
That's beautiful. So important what you said in terms of listening, because not only did you listen? You've responded. And when you think about the context of literacy and illiteracy, it's really about making sure that people have their eyes and ears open, ready to receive and understand what the context of the problem is and how we can be active contributors to solving it. And so, Lucy, I want to go back to you with regard to Sentenced, the riveting documentary that chronicles the lives of families throughout the nation. You have done an incredible job in producing this with your family. We're going to talk a little bit about it in a moment, but let's inspire the audience by taking a quick look at the trailer.
Study after study show that at-risk kids who do not read at grade level by 9 years old are destined to a lifetime of struggle.
Okay, my wife texted me. I don't know how to say that. She wanted you to help me read it.
I don't know. Please. I don't know. It's special. Yeah.
43 million adults can't read well enough to get a basic job.
Try to go get jobs. They tell me to fill up the application. The closest I've been is my name, and that's it. How would I work if I didn't know how to build cars?
Both of my parents have been murdered when I was younger. School to me was like, I didn't care because I didn't have my mom.
Each year, millions of kids are sentenced to a future they don't deserve because of their inability to read.
If you can't learn to read, you will continue to struggle, and slowly we begin to lose you.
It's just failure after that.
Every year, millions of children pass through our school system while actually falling farther and farther behind, heading towards a life of struggle.
I know my ABC. It's words I don't understand.
My son, he's wanting me to say this, will say me. I hope it don't affect him in the future.
I was devastated. Big word. Devastated. Don't know how to spell it, but yeah.
You know, I'm gonna do all I can to level the playing field.
Hey, how you doing, Brother Rico? I'm Marquise, so you got a sound on.
Oh, it's go.
Yeah, there you go.
Once you learn to read, you will be forever free. Frederick Douglass.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations, Lucy, and thank you. You are clearly on a noble mission in media. I wonder if you can share with the audience, why did you decide to address the epidemic of illiteracy through the context of a storytelling lens?
Yeah, so I'm totally an outsider in this world. I mean, a lot of the people that are at this conference are educators or creating for educators. I come from stand-up comedy and music, and Lord help me. But it's been very fun to learn from all of you. That said, we've seen that the experts have made some films and are talking about the problem and maybe talking to each other, but we saw a window to tell the kind of the heart, gut-wrenching story by it actually being told through the lens of the people who live it, who slipped through the cracks, who grew up without learning to read. So, we probably, if we had started with interviews, we probably would have made a film that was experts saying what the problem was, but we actually found Fuji first, and he was the first person you saw in that trailer who's saying, it is I. And when we saw him show, when he welcomed us into his life and his world, we thought, okay, the film is this. We have to find, 3 other people, or as many as we can find. And it's not easy to find subjects willing to let you into their life, to show you how they struggle with their inability to read. I mean, you do everything to cover up that kind of shame. And that's why we lose kids in the system anyway, is that why would they be in a situation where they felt like they were dumb? So that totally determined our path for this film. And so it's a very personal film. And again, if you want to see it, just email Lucy at childrensliteracyproject.org. I will get you a screener. But that was why we chose to tell it through this personal lens. And I was really inspired Monday night with Michael Moe saying, we need to connect the smarts and the hearts. And I think our film could be the heart for all of your smarts. So, yeah, that's my hope.
Indeed, indeed. Speaking of Michael Moe, one of the things that he and Deborah Quazzo and Tiffany Taylor often do in cultivating this ASU+GSV Summit is really bringing together community, because the reality is we cannot do this work alone. We are in this together. And speaking of togetherness, the work that you've done with Chris, Eat, Learn, Play, and the Currys is really remarkable. Chris, I wonder if you can speak to the role philanthropy plays in raising awareness of this critical issue and helping to solve the literacy crisis.
There's a lot of roles that philanthropy can play, and we take it as our responsibility to, take a big step back here, and we benefit greatly by having the Currys, the Currys voice their platforms, their networks to try to do good. And so for us, we've done a lot of work. I talked about listening earlier, but we did a landscape analysis of literacy in Oakland and what it would take, right, in a district where the vast majority of kids are reading below grade level, how can we ensure that all kids are reading at grade level at the appropriate times? One of those interventions that came back, actually the number one intervention that came back, was tutoring, right, as an area where Eat, Learn, Play could play a role. And so the Currys are ambitious, right? And they're incredibly generous. But from that landscape report, it became a question of, okay, how can we, make sure every student who's behind in reading has access to the tutoring support they need to catch up, because this is an intervention that works. And to hear Stefan and Aisha talk about it, when any of their kids are struggling in a school subject, they move heaven and earth, right, to get them the support that they need. And they want this to be what's true for their kids should be true for an entire generation of kids growing up in their adopted hometown of Oakland. So it's that ambition. And listen, once we get this right, improve the effectiveness, then I think philanthropy plays a role as it's a proof point, right? And we're going to have the Currys, whether it's in Sacramento or Washington, D.C., or continuing to be loud storytellers, arguing that the government should play an increased role in some of these interventions that we prove to be successful. Because at the end of the day, for us, the kids deserve this, and so we're trying to make it happen for them.
So remarkable and admirable what you said, and also the work that you were doing. And that brings me to Kyla. You, as superintendent of Oakland Unified School District, you are literally on the ground every day helping to advance the work. You are equipped, probably more equipped than any of us on this panel right now, to talk about the biggest struggles that school districts are facing in advancing literacy. So I wonder if you can speak to that, one. And two, if you can talk to the way in which the work that you're doing with Eat, Learn, Play, and storytelling is being leveraged to create impact.
Yeah, so I feel like two of the biggest things that are getting in the way of really making sure kids are reading at scale. It's the scalability. I still don't understand why in 2025 we're still trying to figure out how to make sure every kid reads, right? That's the issue in every single system, public, private. You can find bright spots, but we have trouble pointing to one system and saying, regardless of where a kid is born, they're leaving the system and every single student 100% is reading. I think given the exponential growth of technology, it is more important now than ever that we have literate kids, because our kids need to be critical thinkers, and literacy is the foundation. So to me, it's a civil rights issue, and that's the kind of grit, and I think that's kind of what bounds us all. I would say right now in public education, it's political distraction, and I think that's why you're seeing so many leaders leave the system. The average tenure for a superintendent in urban areas, that's where the most diversity is, or rural areas, is 2.5 years. We know you have to have people in seats for a while to take an idea, seated in a system, get community involvement, right? And I'll come back to the storytelling in a minute, because that's where it helps to get everybody rallying in the same direction. So you can leverage resources, but leverage talent and passion to actually move the needle, right? If you're constantly turning, it's hard to do that. And our current environment is having everyone focus everywhere but on the needs of students to make sure we have an educated population and a strong democracy in the future. So that, to me, is the biggest issue. I think where the storytelling come in is there's a level of evangelizing that I think is happening in Oakland. There have always been committed folks, but I think a lot of, I want to kind of come back to, we have a lot of partnerships in Oakland. One of the things that I love about working with Chris is that they listen. It is a partnership, right? We started off, I think, right after the pandemic. So one, even during the pandemic, like the Currys show up. They read to the kids. They show up in the schools. During the pandemic, Aisha cooked for our food service workers, came there herself. So it's not just about celebrity or look at what I'm doing, but it's a really genuine care. And I almost say like a calling and a mission to whom much is given, much is required, I think is how you would just describe how they show up. So when we started dreaming about this, there was a lot of conversations. Okay, this is our vision, Eat, Learn, Play. What is your vision as a district? Where's their alignment, right? So it wasn't about, we have this great idea, we have this money, why don't you guys do what we want you to do, but more, how can we do this together? That has now created this synergy where other community-based organizations that have been doing work for years, they're like, oh, well, how can we align? So it's really evolved into, well, maybe we should look at what curriculum the school district is doing and make sure all tutors are trained so that everybody, right, whether it's a partner that's able to give millions of dollars or it's a community-based organization that's been there and has the people, there's just greater alignment now. And so we are starting to see the growth with a lot of the impact tutoring of seeing kids move, you know, a grade level to 3 grade level. It's not just the tutoring, but the tutoring with the teacher and the parents, which is what you'll see in some of the documentaries of the difference that it's made in some of the schools, because it's a village, right? It's the parent, it's the community, it's the teacher, it's the principal, and it's the student seeing the agency. And so it's always going to be bigger than a school district. It is the community. And so there is this level of everyone kind of being on the same page and realizing this is a long game, right? We're not going to solve this in a year, but really having people focused on a long-term vision so we can accelerate the work.
That's right. Well, thank you for your servant leadership. And I also want to, yes, please give a round of applause for the work that she's doing on the ground every day. And let's welcome to the stage Miss Monique Coleman. Monique, thank you so much for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure. Many of you might recognize Monique from the acclaimed High School Musical, but what you may not know is that she was the first ever appointed youth champion by the United Nations. She has been doing this work for quite some time. In addition to the work she's doing domestically, she's also been a global leader. And so, Monique, I invite you to take the mic and tell us about the work that you've been doing, particularly related to anti-poverty and literacy, because one of the things that we've seen throughout this discussion thus far, and what we know throughout our various conversations and work that many of the leaders here are doing on the ground, is that there is an acute intersection between the two.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to let my heart stop beating so quickly. I drove in from Los Angeles to fill this seat because this topic is so very important to me, and there was this moment that opened. So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being on this incredible panel. For me, being the first ever United Nations Youth Champion, I initiated and funded a 6-month global tour where I traveled the world to understand what young people experience and face globally. I understood that I was a recognizable face and that allowed me to have a certain level of comfortability, but I really approached it from the standpoint of being there to receive and to learn rather than to just think that I could walk in and teach. And since then, I recognized that one individual can't do everything, but everyone can do something. And so I really did put my focus on what is something that I can put my attention to that has immeasurable impact continuously, and that is education. And so I then started working with She's the First and Girl Up and other organizations, and have found that obviously, you know, literacy is something that is completely foundational for young people, and that is a distinguishing factor between whether you can advance or whether you will be held back. So from that point on, it's been something, whether I work with Jumpstart or different organizations, it always fundamentally comes back to education and the core of education being literacy.
Woo. Well done.
Welcome to the panel.
mean, what a great reflective moment of the opportunity to use your platform for good, right? A lot of times people have platforms, but they don't necessarily understand the connectivity between that opportunity and the responsibility. And so speaking of platform, Chris, I want to come back to you because Eat, Learn, Play, following the release of Sentenced, released a documentary From Struggle to Strength, which focuses on the critical literacy interventions, specifically acknowledging the role that tutoring can play in kids' lives. Let's take a quick look and we'll come back.
When you're reading, like, what's the hardest part right now?
I'm not very good at reading.
America is facing a literacy crisis.
Literacy is what fuels your advancement in life, and if you're not meeting the requirements at a certain age, it all falls apart.
I always struggle with big words. Why can't I do this? And then I'll just get distracted.
Arguably the most important thing we can do is to give them a chance to read at grade level and to do that by 3rd grade.
Anytime a kid struggles in school and they don't get the support, it affects their self-confidence.
Tutoring has never been deployed at scale at Oakland schools the way that it's needed.
Everybody sound it out.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Thank y'all for coming. It's nice to see you. What's your name?
While the data are about students, this is not a student problem.
Preset. Me, big. It is really fun.
So you like mysteries? Okay, all right.
What we're doing is closing gaps.
They have worked hard. This year has been the highest growth we've ever seen academically at Burke College.
You know, one of my favorite quotes in that trailer is from Aisha, where she says, while the data are the students, this is not a student problem. And so Kyla, I turn to you. If this is not a student problem, one, whose problem is it? And two, in what ways can the work that's being done by Lucy, Chris, and Monique help enhance the societal and cultural vitality that leads to advancement?
So literacy, right, it's a community problem. It is a societal problem. Again, we can't have a thriving democracy unless we have students that are literate. And we can't have a growing economy unless we have students who are literate, right? We all see the opportunities. Yes, all the technology is scary, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities, but it's going to require a literate population. So it's all hands on deck. And so, yes, absolutely, it's a responsibility of school districts. It's obviously the first, I'm a parent too, responsibility of parents, but it's a village, right? It's really kind of an ask and the responsibility of everyone. It's back to what you were saying, everyone has their unique part to do, right? For some folks, it may be money. For other folks, it may be who you saw in your film is just individuals and volunteers that are in schools, because at the end of the day, learning is about a relationship. A kid has to feel seen and heard. You never know who it might be. It might be a janitor in one school. It might be the after-school program person in another school. So really having that village approach, I would say, is extremely important.
Yes, that village approach, the connection, the human connection.
Absolutely.
Right? The human connection.
Yeah, because learning is social.
Yes,
right?
yes, very much so. And it goes back to what you were talking about before, Monique, with being able to establish those relationships and cultivate them in a meaningful way. Chris, you with Eat, Learn, Play and the work of the Currys have really focused on that high impact dosage of tutoring. Can you just speak specifically to what inspired that particular commitment and how could others follow suit?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about it a little bit earlier, right? We did a whole lot of listening. We did our research, and this turned out to be an intervention that connected with us, with the Currys, and where we could begin to wrap our arms around this challenge. Our initial commitment, we made a commitment in September, $50 million, no, $25 million, sorry, over the next several years to fund one-on-one professional tutoring for 10,000 students. in the
Wow.
district.
Yes. Round of
Yeah.
applause.
And it's like,
woo!
And so, it's like high dosage tutoring 3 to 5 days a week, throughout the entire school year. And like the gains that we're seeing that Kyla spoke to are unbelievable. But as we did that, we quickly realized, well, that's not enough. You also have this small group tutoring for kids who aren't quite as far behind. And so how can we make sure that we're playing a catalytic role in rallying those tutoring providers so that they are sort of all working in sync and following the science of reading in the school's curriculum to the point where now it's like, all right, that's good too, but we have to make sure that we're also funding literacy, teachers for Oakland teachers so that they continue that professional development. So we're all in at this point, and we're in deeper than we thought we could go. But again, for us, it's like Oakland kids deserve this. Like they deserve this, and so we're going to rally our partners, the Curry's fans, whoever wants to be on this journey with us to help Oakland kids, become great readers. And when we accomplish it again, it'll be a model, I think, for other communities, for the country in terms of how people can come together and do big things for kids.
Woo, I am so inspired. You have taken this mission and created a movement, Chris, like an entire movement. And the spirit of collaboration, Lucy, you, through Sentence and the work that's being done with the Children's Literacy Project, have brought together media, philanthropy, pedagogy. What's the playbook? How does one get that type of collaboration to create the level of impact that you're going for with regard to the literacy crisis?
That's a good question. I feel like it's got to be a miracle. But it was so amazing to connect with Eat, Learn, Play so we made Sentence, Children's Literacy Project, but our big goal is to ignite communities around the crisis of illiteracy. So by providing really high quality media for the people on the ground, to inspire the regular citizen to get involved in a way that they can, to activate Rotary, churches, all pillars of society to engage in this as if it's hunger and homelessness and sex trafficking. I mean, all literacy is upstream of everything that we care about. So for me, it's, it's taking it on as a community and connecting with, what we do, but with Eat, Learn, Play and with the organizations. I mean, I've met so many different people here. Like, I'm all about unity on this crisis. So we're trying to make the films that tell the story that people on the ground can't tell because they're educators and we're storytellers. And I'm always hunting for good stories. So if you have something, let me know. I want to help bring what's happening in this country to life. And the model that Chris talked about is what we're trying to bring to other cities, is that, hey, we know that Eat, Learn, Play is doing something great in Oakland. Maybe that would work in Detroit, or maybe that would work in Atlanta, but we have, an organization in Chico that has seen crazy success. Maybe that low-tech solution will work, in your rural community or somewhere else, so there's so much possibility, and we're in a really unique place to be connected with so many different people. So I'm excited. I feel hopeful about this.
I'm excited too, and I think so much of the success is not just about what you do, but who you are and how you do it. It's about how you show up, right? And you all clearly have a heart for this work. And Monique, I'm looking directly at you because every time I speak to you, my heart is so full. You have an incredible way of pouring into people, and we know that it's important for students to have people who believe in them, but it's also important for students to understand that they, too, can believe in themselves, right? The powerful words that Darryl DMC McDaniels and I talked about a couple of days ago at the AI show, where I am. What do you believe about yourself? Do you believe that you are worthy? Do you believe that you are smart? Do you believe that you are valuable? And Monique, you have written a book of affirmations, the Affirmations Alphabet. Tell us about that and why it's important for youth to have the affirmative voice.
Yeah, so yes, thank you. I did write a book called Affirmations Alphabet, and it's currently being illustrated. And the idea was to use the alphabet as a guidepost to help parents speak life over their children. Because for as early as I could remember, my mother told me, you are going to be an asset, you matter, your voice matters, you are going to do things that are significant. And for so long, I did not believe that. I I was bullied in middle school. I experienced everything but that. But that was my inner dialogue. And when I was sitting at the United Nations, looking around, wondering what I was doing there, my mother's voice was in my head saying, people want to hear what you have to say. You are an asset. You matter. And so it was important to me, being someone that is a part of the Disney machine and has, had this beautiful opportunity to have success, that I gave back in a way that was meaningful but also empowering, because in the same breath of being able to speak life, there are also, I grew up in, very tumultuous experiences as well, and ones that were incredibly traumatic at times. And I think that we underestimate the power of what young people are seeing and experiencing and how much they know but aren't actually saying out loud. And so I wanted to create something that could empower that inner voice and give them a compass, so that no matter what happened in the world or what they received or didn't, that they knew inside of themselves that they mattered.
Yes, I was on the phone with her earlier. I was like, you better preach, Monique. You better, yes.
Monique,
and by earlier we mean like 11 o'clock this morning.
Monique, what was the Q affirmation I have to ask? Yeah.
The Q, oh gosh. Well, so what it is, so interesting, it's not very linear. It's, I am amazing, I am awesome, I am aligned to my highest good, I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful, I can do anything I put my mind to. So they're woven in. It's not just like A is for this, B is for that. It's a story that's teaching you that you are empowered and that you have the force of the angels and the ancestors behind you, and that there's nothing to fear.
Yes.
And so that they can speak it like a story, but then throughout the way they can see, oh wait, there's the cue, and then the illustrations then will demonstrate the letters by showing you other things.
Cute.
I'll pull it out for you later. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we are at time. Sadly, I could talk to you all forever. I want to thank each and every one of you for your advocacy, for your agency, for your action. Your leadership and love are laudable. Please give a warm round of applause for Monique, Chris, Lucy, and Kyla.